right. Thanks for coming to this talk. So, code confidence and self-doubt, breaking imposter syndrome in tech. My name is Vincent Mayers, and I am an imposter. Why? I'm not an engineer. I try and play one on TV. But I have a degree in pottery. I went to art school for 4 years, making these things. But I went from pottery to tech, somehow. Well, in reality, I went from tech to pottery. Okay, so when in England, where I'm from, when you're 16, you do exams called O-levels. And then if you want to go to university, you go for another 2 years and you do A-levels, which is the subjects that you will probably apply to university for, or something like that. So when I was starting my A-levels, I was majoring in maths, physics, and engineering, okay? I wanted to be a civil engineer in my head. I wanted to be this person standing on top of some thing, holding some random paper, designing it, building it, whatever, okay, in my head. Applied science and technology was my favorite subject at school. You know, we built robots, we used oscillators. Who knows what an oscillator is? Oh, good, I'm not the only one that's showing my age here. But, okay, I had failed the math O-level in the previous summer. I was in the advanced math class, but I'd failed the previous summer, my O-level exam, and I was retaking it, but I was in the advanced math class. And my teacher, Mrs. Davis, this isn't really a picture of her, it's how I think of her in my mind. She hated me, because how dare I be in advanced math, having failed earlier math? And she made my life miserable in ways that only a teacher can make your life miserable. Fortunately, Mr. Colwell was the art teacher, and I had done O-level art and pottery, because I'm a creative guy. And he loved us. He was such an amazing person that I switched majors completely and did geography, art, and ceramics or pottery for my A-levels. And I went on to art college for 4 years. And this is how it ended, me doing this. Okay, a long way from construction dude. After that, there's context to all this, just bear with me. After college, I was an athlete for 8 years, a full-time athlete and a designer. I did a whole bunch of graphic design. I worked in sales, I managed a grocery store, I became a tech recruiter, and that's what brought me to the US in 2002. Actually, I live in the US in 2002. And then I got my first job as an open source community manager at a company called InBloom. Okay, which was an ed tech startup that was massively funded by the Gates Foundation. And we were building a secure data service for K through 12, or for public education for kids. Okay, a secure data service. I'd been recruiting for this position for them, and I was like, man, I'd really love to do this. And I ended up interviewing with them, and they hired me to do this. But this is how I felt when I arrived there. Okay, I'd never been a community manager before. And there I am in front of the Jedi Council of super smart engineers who'd just got $100 million from the Gates Foundation. And it was interesting because even though they were, like you all, are experts in coding and tech, they didn't know much about what I was doing. But I felt like this dude. I felt like Anakin, okay? I remember one time we were doing daily stand-ups and the dev manager just wasn't there, and everyone was just standing around looking at each other at the time that the stand-up's supposed to start, because nobody wants to jump, and I just jumped in. I've been going to stand-ups for months, right? So I'll just run the stand-up. And then I became the guy that ran the stand-up every day because no one else wanted to do it. And then when the dev manager came back, he says, well, you just do it. However, all that led me to running the Atlanta Java users group in the US, running the Dev Nexus conference in Atlanta, which is like JCon, for those unfamiliar, a large kind of Java ecosystem conference, becoming a Java champion, being on the, oh, that's spelt wrong. No, it isn't. Being on the steering committee for Microprofile, helping them start a working group to get that project going in the Eclipse Foundation into the incubation stage. And then, speaking at conferences. So am I really an imposter? This guy said it best. Henry Ford. Ford motor car, guy that started it. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Just think about that for a second. Let it resonate. So what is imposter syndrome? Well, the term was coined back in 1978, I believe, by these two ladies, Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes. They were researchers at Georgia State University in Atlanta. That's just coincidental. And they wrote a research paper called The Imposter Phenomenon in High-Achieving Women, Dynamics and Therapeutic Intervention. And this is where they coined this term, imposter syndrome, okay? And its broad definition is the internal experience of believing that you're not as competent as you think you are. Despite evidence of skills and accomplishment and so on. The common symptoms for this, okay? Persistent self-doubt, believing in your own inadequacy, okay, leading to a fear of being exposed as a fraud, okay? Attribution of success, attributing your success to external factors, luck, things like that, rather than saying, I'm good, I did this. Fear of exposure. Nobody likes to be called out on something. And then a dismissal of positive feedback. Somebody says, hey, you did a great job with that code. You did a great job with that presentation. You did a great job at work last week. And you're like, I don't know. Nah, I don't believe you. Sound familiar to anybody here? The good thing is this is completely normal. All right, and this statement is should be an underlying theme for this presentation. Okay, excuse me. Imposter syndrome is widespread. Even accomplished individuals feel this way. Great quote by Albert Einstein. Okay, the exaggerated esteem in which my life's work is held makes me feel ill at ease. I feel compelled to think of myself as an involuntary swindler. Michelle Obama. I still have a little bit of imposter syndrome. It never goes away. That feeling that you shouldn't take me seriously. What do I know? Serena Williams. One of the greatest tennis players, one of the greatest athletes I think that's ever lived. I always feel like I'm not good enough, that I don't belong. I always feel I need to do more. I need to prove myself. How does she need to prove herself? A large element of this, or why this happens, is something called fight or flight. All right? And there is a connection between the imposter syndrome and the fight or flight response, because both of these involve our body's response to perceived threats. And what are perceived threats? Perceived threats to one's self-image or social standing or feelings of inadequacy or unworthiness or success. Fight or flight is the body's instinctive reaction to all this. There's some neuroscience behind this and some psychological changes that happen because of this. And it's your brain's fault. Okay? So, this is Peter. Let's talk about Peter. Peter is clearly a software engineer of some kind. I see code. And he's clearly stressed out for some reason. Maybe he has to do. He's built a proof of concept for something. He has to present it to the CTO or something, or his teammates, or whatever. Or maybe he's going for an interview. He doesn't look very happy at the moment. This is Peter's brain. Okay, And inside Peter's brain is the amygdala. All right? Now, the amygdala is this little almond-shaped thingy in your brain. Okay? It's in the brain's frontal lobe. And it processes emotions, especially fear and perceived threats. Now, the amygdala is in the hippocampus. Okay? And when the amygdala senses danger, it automatically signals the hippocampus, and it triggers a sympathetic nervous system response. Okay, this is the fight or flight reaction. And what happens then is your kidneys get involved. Okay, and at the top of the kidneys are the adrenal glands. What do we get from adrenal glands? Anyone? Adrenaline. That's right. The adrenal glands produce adrenaline. Within seconds of this response, okay? And then some of the common symptoms of this, of adrenaline, okay, which we all feel, all right? Increased heart rate, increased breathing rate, dilation of your airways, diversion of blood flow from external organs, so your hands or feet might feel cold, increased alertness and sharpened senses. But adrenaline also produces cortisol, okay? Cortisol is known as the stress hormone, all right? Cortisol is sneaky. What cortisol does is it suppresses essential functions, so it might feel short of breath, okay? And it also, more importantly, influences mood and cognition, the stress hormone. So there's a lot going on with Peter, okay, when he experiences fight or flight. Poor dude. But what are some of the common triggers to this fight or flight response? Competing in a sport? Has anyone competed in a sport ever? When you're on on a start line or your team's about to go, you feel this, right? Part of you wants to let's go, let's get on with it. Part of you wants to go, oh, no, I don't want to be here. It's normal. Speaking at a conference. To Sheryl Sandberg, the former CEO of Meta, and she said that she often felt imposter syndrome when she was speaking. Sitting through a code review or an interview or something like that. These are all common triggers or things that commonly trigger the fight or flight response. Familiar, anyone? I've felt this. I mentioned before I used to be an athlete. This was my sport, kayaking. Every time I sat on a start line and I'm waiting to go, and then they do the counter, timer, boop, 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 boop. You've heard that if you've seen skiing or something like that. Again, part of me wants to let's go. Part of me wants to Speaking at a conference. This is my first ever presentation. It was a keynote at the Oracle Code 1 conference in 2019. I had never been on stage before this. Do you think I was nervous? Do you think I wanted to be there or wanted to go? Both, at the same time. But how do we overcome this? Okay, what are some common ways that we can get over this? Imposter syndrome can be a good thing, okay? Healthy self-questioning can lead to continuous learning and growth, and also humility. It doesn't help if you're always oh, I'm the best at everything. Nobody wants to hear from you. If you outwardly project that, okay, you might lose your message. But only if you lean into the fight response and away from the flight response. There's a phrase that goes, your greatest strengths are your greatest weaknesses, but in this instance, your greatest weakness can also be your greatest strength, okay? When we talk about the effects of adrenaline and even cortisol, they can be beneficial to you. Increased blood rate, you get the heart gets going, it's pumping, okay? It can make you feel on edge, it can make you feel good too. Increased breathing rate, all right? All these things can help you, energy mobilization, heightened awareness, all these things that are produced by adrenaline and cortisol, the stress hormone, could also push you to excel. You've got to own it. You've got to recognize this is going to happen, or understand it will happen. Every time, maybe not every time. It actually gets less as you do more. The more you practice anything, the better you get at it. But also validate your feelings about this. It's totally okay. They are very common. Going back to this quote by Henry Ford, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. You've got to do things like challenge your thinking. Okay, instead of saying I don't belong here, just reframe it. Reframe any negative thoughts that you may have about why you're doing this thing, whatever it is, and reframe it with something like I'm learning and I'm growing. Okay, these are positive things. Celebrate the wins. Okay, even the small ones. They're important. Imagine going through life and only celebrating the huge things that happen. Okay, find ways to celebrate the small wins every single day. Okay, recognize what they are and lean into them. Learn from failure. All right, I love this example. I saw this on a TV show once. Kellogg's cornflakes. What's his name? Will Kellogg. Yeah, Will Kellogg. I almost called him Bill. Will Kellogg was working at a psychiatric hospital, and he was trying to invent cereal for the patients. And he had these rolled oat things. Okay, he made these rolled oat things, and he was boiling them to try and make a cereal, and they bubbled up into a little ball. And there was a bunch of them on the table, and he was so frustrated, he ended up slamming his hand on the table. Okay, and it flattened them out. And he left them there overnight. And he came back in the morning, they were dry, and he picked them up, he was like, huh. So then he started, with these boiled clumps of rolled oats, actually rolling them out in a roller. Cornflakes. Started with a failure. I think often, I used to see this in when I was at art school. Actually, they tell this to you when you're at art school. Make a feature of it. If you screw something up, make a feature of it. I mean, who's going to know? And I think this has happened a lot in software as well. Has anyone ever worked on a project where it kind of screwed up, and then you went, that was kind of cool. Let's do that instead. The only real example I could find was something at Netflix where there was a major system outage some years ago, and of course that can't happen at Netflix, right? What's going to happen if you can't watch Netflix? The world will stop. And so they engineered a system to simulate this, this outage, to use across other systems, and that became the foundation for chaos engineering, which came out of Netflix. And you're familiar with chaos engineering. Challenge perfectionism. How do you eat an elephant? Anybody know? One bite at a time. It's not impossible. Set realistic goals. And I like this one. Be careful about comparing yourself to others. Now, it's really healthy to have role models in life, in your personal and professional life, whatever you do. But it's unhealthy to compare yourself to them. You don't know what's going on behind the scene. You only see the tip of the iceberg with that individual. Okay? You're only usually seeing someone's highlights, the best side. You don't know the struggles. So this happens a lot now with social media. Okay? Who has Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook? One of those. TikTok. More hands went up. It happens. Okay? You're scrolling through this stuff. You see something cool, or somebody doing something great, and you're like, or some fantastic life of someone who travels the world, and you're, I wish that was me. No, don't do that. You don't know what they go through. Okay? Be careful what you wish for, I think, is the thing there. So, in the context of all this, I want to talk about the speaker unconference scenario. All right? I was fortunate enough to be at a speaker-run conference. JFocus, an event like this in Sweden, does a speaker trip every year, and to a ski resort. It's in the winter, and it's in Sweden, so there's snow. And we did an unconference, and one of the sessions was about imposter syndrome. Okay, and it was very, very interesting and actually eye-opening to realize how many of the very talented and globally known speakers in that room suffer from imposter syndrome. All the things that we've kind of been talked about, should they be there? The way to get around that, right, is accept you're never going to be the smartest person in the room. It doesn't matter what you're talking about. Someone in the audience is probably going to know more about that subject than you do. Right? So just get over the fact that you need to be the smartest person in the room. You just need to be knowledgeable and passionate. And your uniqueness, which we'll talk about, is what's going to carry it. You're not going to impact everybody. You don't need to. Again, all this is like, what do I know? I always say that I know nothing. This is just my perspective. All right. The thing that you don't need to impact everyone. If you, as a speaker, or as an engineer doing a proof of concept, if you positively impact one person, your job is done. More specifically, if you're a speaker. Okay? If it's more than that, great. But if someone in that audience got one thing out of what you said, congratulations. And the aha moment that person has is probably not going to be about some new concept that you talked about. It's probably going to be about something that they already know that you've reminded them the importance of. And they go, yes, you're right. I need to do more of that. I'm going to do more of that next week. And that has more of a positive effect on anything, on them than whatever you were trying to teach them about, whatever. Spring boot, because that was the last dude. But most importantly, you're unique, okay? You have a unique perspective that is based on who you are, how you grew up, your social environment, all sorts of things, okay? So being passionate about what you're talking about, being knowledgeable about it, and your uniqueness is what's going to carry everything. You're going to thank me for this in a minute, because I'm the person that's between you all and a beer. All right? So this session doesn't need to go for 45 minutes. It's probably going to go for about 30, unless you really want to ask 15 minutes of questions. And I've talked to them, you can have beer early. Well, that's what they told me anyway. So what are the takeaways? Okay, despite all the neuroscience behind this, imposter syndrome is an illusion of your own making. Okay, you don't have to feel that way. And like anything in life that you want to get better at, you just need to practice. It's universal, it's manageable. Everyone has this automatic response to adrenaline and cortisol, the fight or flight response. What they do with it is up to them. Okay? Lean into the discomfort that it causes. This picture of US Navy SEALs, okay? Some of the best special forces soldiers in the world. That doesn't look very comfortable, does it? But they do stuff like this in Hell Week, in training, and they go through that and other things, and they become the best soldiers in the world. Lean into the discomfort. And again, you are absolutely unique. You're going to ask yourself, how did I get a picture of the audience up there? It's magic. What you know, your perspective, is worth sharing and will impact others. Vielen Dank. So connect with me if you like. I'm very bad at X, Twitter, blue whatever. Blue field. That's it, blue field? Blue sky. I knew that. But please connect if you would like. Happy to do that. And then if you have any questions, they're anonymous. There's the Slido QR code. And by the magic of technology, there we go. I don't know if that's the way I'm supposed to share it, but whatever. How to prevent getting into these situations where you would really be what you're fear of. I mean, for example, missing competence and knowledge in the subject. How do you get into that situation? One of the best answers in the world. Yeah. Good luck with that. One of the best answers you can give anybody in the world, and I've been an interviewer pretty much my whole professional career, is I don't know the answer to that. It's fine. We actually see this a lot with Q&A and in interviews where you ask someone a question, and then there's a long, drawn-out answer. Okay? Just say no. I don't know, but I'll find out. Because you probably have access to resources that the person asking the question doesn't. Let's see. Is it possible to help others obviously suffering from imposter syndrome? Or is it so personal that only the person themselves can work through it? No, it's absolutely possible to help other people. So, as in anything that there are support groups for. I don't necessarily think you need a support group or a Reddit thread or something. But yes, talk to others about this, or have others talk to you. It's very hard work. Has anyone ever? Okay, I've been in therapy, right, for one reason or another over the years. First wife, divorced. That was hard. I don't want any hands because it can be uncomfortable. The hardest thing that you can do as an individual, especially if you're a man, okay? There's this whole thing about men's mental health right now, is ask for help. Okay? And that same kind of fear of the imposter syndrome thing, the thing the amygdala does, stops you from doing this. Like, what if they think badly of me if I'm asking them? Try and create an environment if around you, I guess, an aura where people can approach you. Or if you're in that position, try and lean into that discomfort of reaching out to someone and just talking it through. Okay? It could be anybody. Sometimes just talking is therapy. I remember when I went through my divorce, and I was a mess. And I'd be in random bars telling random people everything over a beer. This is what happened, and I feel so. They didn't really want to hear from me, but it felt good to me to talk about it. All right, talking is therapy. Let's see. I read somewhere that fight or flight reaction is kind of hard coded into your body. So how can you use the fight one if you do not manage it? Yes, it's hard coded. Okay. So the short answer is get over it. And that's actually the long answer too, frankly. I could stand here and ramble. But it doesn't go away. Whenever I sat on that start line, it didn't go away. Okay? I'm not like a very seasoned presenter like some of the people in this room, but I still feel that when I stand up here a little bit of this. And yeah, amygdala. Can we remove the amygdala? Sure, why not? Make a film about it. Share it with everyone else. All right, so if you didn't get that, please connect. Happy to play from current slide. Happy to share that or any perspective, or come talk to me now or later or whatever. But again, thank you very much for coming to this shorter than the others presentation. I appreciate your attention.